Time to take a little walk to meet my girls. Tick 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 tick. Tick 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 tick. Tick 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 tick. These are my girls. And this is the coop I just recently met. I hate to disappoint you gals, but I don't have any food for you. But they have something for me, and we're going to go check that out. In here, and I'm afraid I had, oh, I'm so sorry I had it. Well, I guess she's not happy. She's in the middle of doing her business. But we got eggs. Lots of eggs. As you can see, eggs come in all different colors and shapes. I can't even remember all the different species of hens we have out there. I know we have some that are called Easter eggers. We have a lot of Rhode Island Reds. These brown ones are usually the Rhode Island Reds. The Easter eggers get their name because they're the ones that kind of have like unique colors. Like this one is like a kind of a buff color. I have some that kind of have a blue tint. And as you can see, different sizes. One of the problems with having your own chickens is when a recipe calls for an egg, well, do you use an egg this size or do you use an egg this size? And so sometimes you have to use 2 eggs to make this egg. Now, if you're wondering about the difference between these eggs and the ones you get in the store, it's almost the difference between night and day. And I'm not saying that the ones you get in the store have anything wrong with them, but let me show you a comparison. I mean, look how white those eggs are. These are probably laid by leghorns. That species usually lays more eggs than anyone else. So if I put this in here, it kind of stands out. Now, one of the unique things between store eggs and fresh eggs, usually these eggs right here you buy in the store can be up to 30 to 60 days old. These eggs right here were all laid this week. But one of the dead tails between eggs here is the color of the yolk. And I'm not sure if you can see this really well, but usually fresh eggs are going to have a darker yolk than store-bought eggs. The longer the eggs sit, the more yellow they become. So fresh eggs are going to have quite a dark yolk, and store-bought eggs are going to be more of the traditional yellow yolk. So, what am I going to do with all these eggs? Generally, with freeze drying, there's 4 things I'll do with my eggs. I will either make scrambled eggs, which is really great when we go camping. They're just so easy, just to add hot water to your breakfast in the morning and come up with scrambled eggs. Or I'll take these eggs, I'll scramble them and freeze dry them raw. Or another thing I will do is I'll separate the yolks from the whites. And one thing that we do eat a lot here is we have a lot of creme brulee. And so the creme brulee basically will use just the yolk instead of the white. And then we also do a lot of baking, and so if you want to make angel food cake or meringues, then you need a lot of the egg whites. And so we'll separate the egg whites from the yolks and we'll freeze dry them that way. One thing that's interesting when you freeze dry eggs, the whites do not stick to the pans hardly at all. They come up really easy. But the egg yolks, I believe with the fat content, you usually have to scrape your trays to get the egg yolks up and out of the pan. But we're going to go ahead with all these. I'm going to go ahead and separate the yolks from the whites, and we're going to freeze dry eggs. Now the way I separate the eggs from the yolks, I guess there's not any secret to it. I'll scoop it up and I'll just open my fingers just a little bit and let the egg white slip through my fingers, and I just kind of move my fingers back and forth, and I guess you could say I cut off the whites from the yolk. So when I'm done, all I have is this nice little round yolk ball. So I guess it's all technique. Like I said, there's no absolute way of doing it. Some people just kind of go back and forth, kind of pinching it between their fingers until the white is released, and then you have all the whites and everything else separated. So I probably have about a couple dozen eggs here that we're going to go ahead and separate all those. We're just about done here. Now, this one person who knows quite a bit about chickens was telling me that the color of the eggs will be the same color as the ears of a chicken. Well, I can't remember when I actually looked at an ear of a chicken, but I guess I'm going to have to try that out and see what color my chicken ears are. Okay, so I probably have 30 eggs in here. Now if these were, the store-bought eggs, which are a lot larger, this would be a lot more. But some of these eggs, I mean, if you take a look at this, well, I just broke the yolk, but some of these eggs are really small, and so it takes a lot of eggs to get anything. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to just kind of whisk these all up into a nice creamy liquid like this, and we're going to pour that in the pan to freeze dry. So you got to remember that there are like 30 individual egg whites and 30 individual yolks in here, and so you really want to get this all be consistent and into one common liquid, if that makes sense. As you whisk this, I mean, you can just feel how thick these yolks are. You can just feel the fat in these and how rich and creamy these yolks are. So we're going to go ahead and put those in one pan. And like I said earlier, when these come out, the yolks have a tendency to stick to the pan, but with a flat spatula, they'll come out okay. Now, in contrast to the yolks, the egg whites are nice and light, and there's such a big difference between the yolks and the egg whites. You can almost see how that's going to happen. Now, I probably caused a bit of a problem with myself, because this is nice and thick. I can go almost anywhere with this. The ratio between egg whites and egg yolks, you usually get 2 parts egg whites to 1 part egg yolk. Now, the problem I have right now is these egg whites are almost up to the rim of my tray. So, if I can do this without spilling, what I'm going to do, because I'm pre-freezing everything, I'm going to put these back in the bowl. I lost some there. I'm going to put this into my refrigerator, my freezer tray, pull it out a little bit, just like you do in your freeze dryer, and pour everything on this side and put it back in. So I'm going to pour this in the freezer so I don't have to go through my pantry trying not to spill egg whites everywhere. So I'm at my freezer, and you can see this little rack that I welded up a little while ago that keeps my food above the rest of the food, and it gives me some good places to put up to 5 trays for my freeze dryer. So in this case, I'm just going to get my egg whites and slowly pour them in to the tray here, and that way I'm not going to end up spilling them on my pantry floor trying to get the tray into the freezer to pre-freeze it. And we're going to go ahead and just push it in there, and we're going to let that freeze now. Just finished up a load this morning. So I got sweet potatoes, we have egg yolks, egg whites, and green peppers. So the eggs came out really nice. The egg yolks, because of the fat, they're harder. The egg whites are expected to be kind of very loose, very fluffy, so to speak. So I'm just going to loosen these up so they come out a lot easier out of the pan. I just use basically a pizza cutter. It works pretty good. I'm scoring this to get it out. So this is not as powdery because of the fat content of the yolks, where the egg whites they're very loose. It's the difference between night and day between these two. So we're going to go ahead and package these up. Okay, so there we got it. Eggs white, egg yolks. Okay, I have some egg yolks back from June of 21, and I need 3 egg yolks to do my creme brulee. Now, inside this bag is a 300cc oxygen absorber. And one of the things I've been able to learn through testing is that an oxygen absorber will absorb much more than it's rated for. So basically a 300 oxygen absorber will actually absorb up to 1200 cc's of oxygen. They just put more material in the packs than they normally do. So I'm going to open this up. I'm not going to take my time, but I'm going to take out 3 tablespoons, because each tablespoon equals about the same amount as a yolk. And I'm going to go ahead and seal this back up. I can seal it back up without adding another oxygen absorber in, so I think I'll be just fine. Well, I'm going to just have to estimate, because this is pretty much in pieces rather than the powder. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and seal this up, and I should be fine. I'm fairly confident that the oxygen absorber will take care of any oxygen that went inside this bag. So I'm going to mark this bag and I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to test this oxygen absorber later on. So we have here a bunch of egg yolk. Now, the first thing I've noticed about this is that this is not real powdery, if I can use that word. Egg yolks have a lot of fat in them. You wouldn't realize it, but that's where the cholesterol is, and an egg is in the yolk. So now that this is the powder, so that's easily going to be, this is easily going to be 3 yolks. So I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 cup of cream. I'm going to mix that together in a little bit of heat. Once that is cooled off, I'm going to add 3 egg yolks, a quarter teaspoon vanilla, and then I'm going to be cooking that in the oven in ramekins in a water bath at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. When it comes out, I'm going to sprinkle some sugar on top, and I'm going to take a torch to it. Okay, to start with, I don't know why they call these a half pint. Why don't they just call them 1 cup milk? So I got 1 cup cream, and I'm going to add to it 3 tablespoons sugar. I'm going to go ahead and whisk this together into a smooth mixture. Now I'm going to put this in a microwave for 1 to 2 minutes and just warm it up. Okay, I put this into the microwave for just a little bit over 1 minute. So we want to dissolve all the sugar inside the cream. Okay, in with this, we're going to put a quarter teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now the next part is going to be the difficult part. These are my egg yolks, so the question is, how much of this do I need to put in? So I'm just going to basically guess that a heaping tablespoon is going to be 1 egg yolk. So I'm going to add 3 heaping tablespoons to my creme brulee. Maybe just a smidge extra. I guess the question is are all eggs the same amount? And they're pretty not. So we need to whisk this up until it's all dissolved. Now, not only do we need to whisk this up until it's all dissolved, but basically we have to reconstitute the egg yolks. So I'm going to let this sit for a while, and I'm going to come back and whisk it once I'm pretty convinced that all the egg yolks have been reconstituted. Okay, I've been whisking this. It's nice and frothy, and if I take a look at the bottom of the bowl, I don't see any bits of undissolved egg yolks. So I think this is ready. Okay, so I have 2 ramekins here, and we're going to put equal parts in the ramekins. Now these are kind of large ramekins, but we have to do what we have to do. Then what we need to do is put these into a bath with water. So we need to fill this. We need to fill this halfway up the side with water. Okay, and the oven is almost at the temperature, 350 degrees for 50 minutes. And we'll see how that comes out. Okay, so here we go. We have a gluten-free meal that's also freeze-dried. So we have the pesto. The pesto was freeze-dried. We have the asparagus. The asparagus was freeze-dried. This is topped off with some Parmesan. Of course, the lemons are not freeze-dried, but we have the Wiener Schnitzel, which was freeze-dried and brought back. So, we'll have to see how it tastes. Yeah, it was good. Now for dessert. Creme brulee. The egg yolks from this were freeze-dried. Okay, we're going to put the sugar on here. And then the caramel sauce. Creme brulee a la freeze dry. There's only one problem with this meal being freeze dried. There wasn't more. This was a grand, successful experience. I wish I would have made more creme brulee. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like it, subscribe, and I hope to send you more. Thank you for your time.